Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Eric. Great to see you.
Yeah, you too. You too. Tim, typically I start these Crux casts by saying, hi, you are XYZ and you work for XYZ and you do this. That's the typical way that I do it, but I don't think there's going to be anything typical about this interview. I think this is going to be slightly different for our viewers. And I think to unpack this properly, if I may, maybe ask you to go back to the start of all of this, when you realized that there was a transformation happening and how you got to the point, and then it'll be a nice segue into what you're doing today.
Okay. So back in 2015, I was involved in a very rudimentary social selling transformation at a big tech company. And that was across about 4,000 people. In the end, we rolled it out across Europe. And then I bumped into someone called Matt, and he had some contacts at Kogan Page, and he said within 3 months I had a book deal, and that was the first book. Then back in 2017, I started my own company with Adam Gray, my co-founder. So we started the company DLA Ignite, and we transform organizations with social.
Very good. So when was the light bulb moment for you that things were changing in sales and marketing?
Probably way back. I've now been on Twitter for 11 years. There was an inkling that certainly something was happening in it, and using social as a mechanism to get in touch with people and then to form relationships. And that would have been back in the early, probably 2012, 2013. I was looking around for case studies, and actually 6 years ago in April, a friend of mine came to me and said, do you know, I'm getting C-level meetings with Twitter. And I said, can I buy you a coffee? Can you tell me about it? So he told me about that he was getting 10 C-level meetings a week using Twitter. And that was 6 years ago.
Right.
So it was at that point where for me, there was a proven ROI and that something had changed. And even if you got one C-level meeting a week, it was one more than you had. And then really, you know, for the last 6 years, we've been telling people, do you know, you can actually get higher faster with social than you can with like traditional legacy methods like cold calling and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because the C-level, the CEOs, the COOs, and all of those type of C-suite people have been elusive to average Joe salesman for many, many years, right?
Yes. So if you cold call a senior exec, you know, I was talking to somebody from SAP, and they said if I phoned up one of their clients with GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, they said if I phoned the switchboard and said, put me through to the finance director, the person at the switchboard would laugh. And that's even before you got to the person's PA or EA or whatever that they're called. So trying to get through to somebody is just near impossible with telephone, maybe with email, but it'll probably get blocked. But you know, with social, the whole world, the hierarchy is flattened. Yeah. I was talking to a CEO this morning on LinkedIn, and he thought the world was differently. He sent me to someone lower, and the person said, no, we're not interested. And I went back and said, your person lower says you're not interested, but it's very clear from your LinkedIn profile so that you should be. And having that conversation with someone senior was impossible. But LinkedIn has been around for you know, 10, 15 years. And what, you know, now in the COVID-19 world, you know, now is the time that we've actually spend time to actually start using social, because we can't have those face-to-face meetings. And we're getting less and less access to people through legacy methods like phone calling and emailing, stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely. Agreed. And there has been a marked shift in the amount of control that buyers have nowadays in terms of beyond the supply chain control, actually their ability to limit and block and respond when they want to. There's been a change in the sort of buyer control.
Yeah, so most buying today has been based on interruption.
Yeah.
So an advert interrupts. You're reading a newspaper, if you remember those, and an advert and it interrupts you. You know, a cold call, it interrupts you. You know, you're doing a massive big spreadsheet for the boss, and you get interrupted. An email. You know, I got one this morning. You know, it was written in the 1990s, I think, and it came in, and it was like, and it interrupts you. But social is based on permission. So if you and I have met over social. When you connect to me, I give you permission in a way to have a conversation. Now, if you turn around and immediately pitch to me, then I have the opportunity to block you and not talk to you, which means that, as you say, the buyer has an awful lot of control. And we all know that we hate being sold to. And so this method of, like, I had someone, email me this morning and saying, hey, have I got this wonderful product for you? I didn't even read the email. I replied, something about you in the 1990s and you need to come into the 21st century. And then I create a rule that if an email comes in from that email address ever again, it doesn't even go into junk. It goes straight into my waste paper basket. So we have control just as much as iOS 13 on this basically stop cold calling. Yeah. Because anybody who phones me, if their name isn't in my address book, it goes straight into voicemail.
Yeah.
So the ability to interrupt me now with different messages is getting less and less and less and less. I mean, we had GDPR in 2018 and stuff like that, but so. Whether I realize there may be organizations that say, yeah, cold calling is great, there's nothing like getting on the phone, but you have to have social now as a strand, as part of your go-to-market. If you don't, you won't. You basically, we're in lockdown for stages of lockdown for at least another 12 months. Oh, yeah. There will be no, I'm not going to go into a room in a conference with 20,000 people sneezing and coughing for maybe 12 or 18 months. We're just not going to do that, regardless of how quickly they're going to get a vaccine out. So there's going to be no conferences, there's going to be no events. Your ability to cold call and email is going to get less and less and less and less. Your only ability right now, the only game in town, is to use social.
Yeah, and use it properly. So
use it properly. Yes, sorry, Eric.
Use it properly.
Because otherwise, what happens, Eric, is that people take interrupt methods and put it onto social. So when you get a pitch as a connection request, that's just cold calling on a social network. Or you get the people that the sneaky thing they do is they connect to you, and then a week later they pitch to you. It's usually companies that will basically do social selling for you, which is like outsourcing your marriage. Yeah. If there's a problem with my marriage, I need to fix it. What I shouldn't be doing is saying, Eric, I've got a problem with my marriage. Do you mind taking my wife out? She'd get a meal, you'd buy her flowers, she'd get some interesting conversation. It ticks all the boxes, but it misses the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I got one the other day, or one every other day. For only £80 per 1,000, I will get you 10,000 followers on YouTube and all of that. And you're thinking, man, you're actually trying to. This is almost like a scam. Yeah, exactly.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I know people that have done it, and there's one person who got 250 retweets on a tweet. And I think that the thing about social is it's transparent, right? There's been, for years and years and years, brands and people have been able to hide things. So you could hide your expertise. You didn't need to have, you could go to a university on the internet and get a degree. Now people have complete transparency. I can see what you and your company is like from your presence on LinkedIn. Yeah. I can see your belief systems. I can see what your company believes about diversity and inclusion from your LinkedIn profile.
Even more so, and behind that information is more transparent on LinkedIn and on social than it is on the website, right? The website's the clean sanitized.
Because on a website, your website is actually built in the days of interrupt and broadcast. So what you do on your website is basically broadcast. You will tell me that you're the number one, that you're the best, that you're market leader, and I go to your competition and now say, we're the best, we're market leader, and we're number one. So websites have basically become a 1-1 draw. You have to have one, but actually you don't get 3 points. Sorry, it's a soccer metaphor for anybody who's watching in the States. Basically, a website's all right. You need to have one, but really, it's not. If you're driving people to a website, you're losing, because your website is not designed to actually create desire in people. It's designed to broadcast at people. And so currently your only unique selling point are your employees.
Yeah.
And what you need to do is empower your employees to talk, create a network, and be on a social network, but to be authentic. This is not a channel for you to post corporate shit and corporate content, because nobody's interested in the company. Nope. They're interested in the people. Yeah, they're interested in, when you talked about my company, it was like blah, 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 and here's Tim Hughes. Yeah, you didn't say here's DLA Ignite. You said here's Tim Hughes, and the people are listening to me and what I have to say, and not what my company's about. And that's the same for every single company. Maybe not for Nike, and maybe not for, but for most people that are listening to this, your people and you are the most important thing in your company, and they must be empowered to be on social.
And I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are at various stages of what you call social maturity, who, for the best of intent, they actually believe that they're doing social. Every week, someone in the company sends out a picture of that pallet of widgets that's leaving to go to a happy client. Another package of widgets going out to the client. Do you need widgets? Give us a call. Bang, we're doing social. So you talk about various stages of social maturity. Those that have completely embraced it, the Mark Gaisfords of the world, who have built their business on content, only content on LinkedIn and YouTube and all of that, right through to the companies who are thinking about it but don't know how to get started, maybe even don't believe in it. We're not going to do that. It's not for us. That's for kids. What's your view on social maturity and how you can develop?
Yes, there will be people that will post pictures of pallets, and I know people that are selling skidoos in Canada by posting pictures of them on LinkedIn. So yes, and probably they will get some response, because social. Some social is based on serendipity. If it's snowing and you need a skidoo, and one comes past on social, and you go, actually, I'll buy it. I actually know someone who sold a Lamborghini on social, on LinkedIn as well. So some of it is to do with having a serendipity moment, but what you need to do is take control of that. So there's 3 things that you need, that everybody needs. First of all, is that they need a personal brand. This sounds really grand, but this is not about you and how brilliant you are, because actually that comes across as boastful. What this is about you thinking about your customers and what it is that they would want to see. Most customers want to see an expert, someone that can help them. For example, we have a client, BMW was a client of ours. I know this is pre-COVID-19, but in November they sold 14 cars, let's say $50,000 each. That's $700,000 for zero marketing spend, basically by being on LinkedIn. So first of all, it works. We know from 6 years ago that someone was making 10 C-level meetings a week from Twitter, so we know it works. So the ROI and whether it works or not, the argument's been basically proven. Yeah. So if you say you're not doing it, that's fine. I don't care. You're basically leaving money on the table. Yeah, and that as a business leader is totally up to you. That for those people that say, okay, I want to get into this, you need this personal brand. And again, this is about, so look at my LinkedIn profile. For a start, it doesn't have a title that says I'm CEO or whatever. It has a title that creates intrigue. And I think you even said to me, didn't you, you had to look at my profile because I'd written what I'd written.
Yeah, the reason we're here today, no emails exchanged. The reason we're here today is because I saw you comment on someone else's post that I didn't even know this person, but I was connected to them through LinkedIn, and I saw your post, and it was your title that caught my eye. It says, I should have played Quidditch for England, and then some Oriental text by your name. I thought, who is this
Which is
guy?
my name in English, yeah. So,
right.
Sorry, in Chinese. So this is about creating curiosity.
Yeah.
So I'll come to the conversation. So first and foremost, you need, and that's about creating curiosity. And we've always done that since whenever we used to write letters to people, it was about, you've got seven seconds of someone's attention, and what you need to do is pique their curiosity and go, that's interesting, I'm going to read it further. And so what I do is I create my profile so you come and look at mine, and you don't go and look at outdoors. Yeah. So immediately I have a competitive advantage over everybody else. I've written, if you look at it, it's not about how great I am and stuff like that. It's a story of my life, of what's important. This classic storytelling. Again, it piques your interest. And I've had people say there's a typo right at the bottom, and it meant, and I know that you've read it all then. That's the first thing you need. The second thing you need is a network. Most people have the people they're connected to are ex-colleagues and recruitment consultants, which are pretty, which is, is interesting, but not much of use. So you need to put your territory online. So your customers, connect to your customers. You need to, your prospects, your future, the people that you want to employ, anybody that influences those people. This is not a, hey, I'm Tim Hughes and I can give you 30% off, because immediately people will just block you.
Yeah.
This is about, hey, Eric, if I was at a networking event, I'd, get my cup of tea and I go, hi, Eric, have you traveled far today? Well, actually, yeah, I'm live in Aberdeen and coming down to London for a networking event. He's like, you're in Aberdeen? God, what's the oil market like at the moment? Well, it's like that. And we get into a conversation. Now, people watching this don't know, I've actually had this conversation with Eric. And what we actually do as humans is that we build trust by finding connections where there's a crossing between, I haven't been to university in Aberdeen, but talking about things and then you go, I like this guy and I trust that guy. So the best way to get a connection request answered on LinkedIn is to go to someone's LinkedIn profile, find two things that you have in common, and go, hey, Eric, your LinkedIn profile looks really interesting. I want to learn from great people. I'm also into cycling and I also went to Aberdeen University. Can we connect? You will get that connection request. Pretty 90% sure that you will have that accepted. And you just build a network. And right now in COVID-19, you have time to do this.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say that they don't have time, but right now that you do. The third thing that you need is content. And that's about showing that you're an expert. Because when I first had a conversation with you, Eric, you were telling me about how your expertise were in utilities, and you knew about this, and you know about that, right? Okay, nobody knows that because you're sitting in your study in Aberdeen. They do know it if you start talking about it and blogging about it. This podcast is an example of you demonstrating your expertise. And what you do is you tell people what, not in a boastful way, but you can create content. There's also loads of places. Flipboard is a free app that I use to basically curate content. So once you have a great profile, you can start connecting to people. Once you start connecting people will come to your profile. They'll see your content, and you will find probably first out the box that there will be people that go, I didn't know you did that. I'm actually looking for this service right now. Can we get on a call and talk about it? So you will find out as soon as you do this. I can if you don't get this, you haven't done it right. Yeah. But pretty much out the box, you will have people coming to you saying, "Can I have a conversation?" So that gets you over the hurdle of, well, I need some leads and meetings. I need them quick. You will get that from serendipity. The next thing you need to do is actually how you found me, which is you just go onto LinkedIn and you start having conversations with people.
Yeah.
So first thing to do is to have conversations with people that you know, but actually the people that you know you. So they've already gone, I know Tim Hughes. I'm not buying that right now. So what I need to do is get through my network and get out. So the best thing to do that is to start talking and having conversations with people, and you then see me. Classic, what you described. All I do is make say something on there, have a conversation with somebody. You see me and go, bloody, that's intriguing. Come and look at my LinkedIn profile. I know because I've got premium edition that you've looked at my LinkedIn profile. So either you would connect with me, or I was going to write to you and say, Eric, you looked at my LinkedIn profile. Hope you found what you wanted. Don't know how you found me, but maybe while we haven't met, why don't we connect? Yeah. And everybody who comes to my LinkedIn profile gets that. And most people then connect. And I've had people, oh yeah, I'm actually looking at LinkedIn profile. We're looking for a speaker for this particular event. Would you be interested? And 25% of inbound just comes from me going, you looked at my LinkedIn profile, can we connect? So, that's a long answer to your question.
But,
no,
I think
people don't want
to
do it, Eric. Fine, but I make a living out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about making a living out of it, there will be people out there on this maturity graph that you talk about that are thinking, listen, I really like the idea of this. I follow a lot of people and I'm intrigued by what they're doing, but we make, heavy industrial kit for refineries. We make, it's all very well if you're selling, shiny jeans or nice watches or whatever. But how is this relevant to engineering services or heavy industrial kit? It's not going to work. What's your response to that?
We've got a number of clients in North America that do heavy engineering kit. Interesting enough, most our clients in North America mainly are manufacturing and retail. Well, we actually don't have manufacturing retail clients in the UK. We have one, they're selling skidoos on LinkedIn. J&G is selling skidoos. They've also, I'm just going to change the subject slightly. They've cut all of their recruitment spend on advertising, and this is pre-COVID-19. They do all of their recruitment through social. They don't spend a penny on advertising or recruitment consultants because they do it all on social. So we had there was a guy, there's an engineering company, exactly the same thing. Engineering isn't interesting. And they went out into the workshop and there was a bloke doing welding. And he sort of said, so what's the welding like? I said, well, it's bloody difficult, this welding, because there's a particular thing that you have to do. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, he said, there's only like 10 of us in the world or something that can do this particular weld. And he said, next time you do it, can I video it? He goes, yeah, I can. So he put the video on social. It did the equivalent of going viral.
Right.
Because it was like, everyone was going like, there was welding experts going, bloody hell, that's like, that's amazing. It's like, it's like, it's like, like a train spotter seeing, your last class 55 come in. And it was like, it's beautiful the way that he does that weld and stuff like that. And then it just took from that, they took off. They just found different things in the workshop and basically videoed them and put them out. And then as they got more and more comfortable with it, they then started realizing. So we have this internal joke where people say, having a conversation with me, and then I'll go, there's a blog in that.
Yeah.
And
the little gem, which isn't necessarily about the product. It's about something to do with it.
Yeah. So never, don't sell the product. It's about the idea. So I don't come on to this podcast and tell you about how great our company is and what we do. What I do is I'm sharing knowledge about what we do. And where that's supposed to go, that's interesting. I'll give Tim a call. So it's about sharing the skills that they had in the company, and people. I'm trying to think of there's a trucking company that we have in the States, trucking, what's interesting about that? But they, at the beginning of the year, they basically, you can go to them, because in the States they're far better at supporting veterans than we are here in the UK.
Yeah.
And basically, if you go to them, they will deliver a wreath to you, so you can place it on. It must be Memorial Day. You can place a wreath on the grave of your veteran.
Right.
And obviously they make a big thing of this. But again, it's I've watched the video and a tear comes to your eye.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, this is so the cost of that is small. The impact of that is massive. And if everybody in your company has a good profile, everybody in your company has an amazing network, as soon as you start putting stuff out that's interesting, it just picks up. And that's the magic of networks. Sorry, Eric.
No, it's tremendous. I will just let you go on and on. One of the things that you've said before, which I find quite intriguing, is because I think we've all fallen into this trap. And for those who are still dabbling with their social maturity or progressing in that, perhaps still feel that it's important to run that advert, to follow the traditional sort of corporate marketing sort of ethos. But you've said in a few times before online that corporate marketing, you believe now, creates no value.
Yes. I can see if you're selling rubber stoppers to stop your chair squeaking, putting an ad on Instagram works. If you're selling, $50, $100, $250 Martech, SaaS, whatever, it's not going to work. People aren't interested in companies, and they're not interested in your company. If you think about yourself, what are the things that you need to do today? And work kind of always gets in the way of all that stuff. So you don't have time to read anybody else's ads, and nobody has time to read yours. And I'm still seeing people advertising on LinkedIn where they've obviously created the campaign pre-COVID-19, digital transformation. Most people are more bothered about whether they're going to get furloughed, laid off, or trying to get a job, let alone, the last thing we're interested in is digital transformation. I've got two parents, two 80-year-old parents. One of them is in a nursing home, and it's likelihood that they'll die and I won't see them. Now, I'm being deliberately serious, because a lot of people go, oh yes, people will look at my ads. No, they won't. No one's interested. Everybody else has got elderly parents. Everybody else is concerned about how they're going to get food. Look at think about the millions of people that have been laid off. I've had a lot of people come to me because they've been laid off, and it's like, so I grew up. I'm old. I grew up in the 80s, and there was no jobs then, and it's like that. And I know what it's like, and it's horrible. And trying to get a job, and so what we're trying to do is actually trying to help people, and I know everybody's trying to help people. We are actually, if you come to me and you have lost your job, I will spend an hour with you on your LinkedIn profile, explaining what you need to do on your LinkedIn profile to get a job. That's an offer.
Very good indeed. Just that, no, that's great, and we should highlight that, and we will. On the corporate marketing thing, you used on a previous interview, you used a really nice analogy of the marketeer that gets up in the morning and ignores all the adverts. On the radio.
We were in Melbourne. Yeah, we were in Melbourne, and this is a story that my business partner Adam always tells. Yeah, you get up in the morning, you put the radio on. As soon as the advertising comes on the radio, you change the channel. You go downstairs to get your piece of toast, and you put the TV on. As soon as the ad comes on, you turn the TV over to another channel. You get in the car and you drive, and there's an advert behind the back of the bus, and you ignore it. The billboards you ignore, and you get into work, and you get to your desk and basically commission some advertising. And we said that in a meeting, and this girl went, I am that person. She said, I did that. She said, I did that this morning. And she said, what? And I said, what do you think you'll get? She said, well, I don't think I'll get anything. We said, well, why are you doing it? She said, I don't know. It's just like
That's what we do.
Yeah,
That's
it's what we do. Yeah,
what we do.
and I met this. I quite often mentor people, and I met this person, and she was in marketing, about early 20s. And I said, so what do you do? She said, oh, we use advertising. I said, so what do you think about ad blockers? She said, oh, we use them all in the office. All of us use them in the office. So I said, well, everybody in your marketing team? She said, oh, yeah, we all use ad blockers. Yeah, we hate them, yeah. I said, so why do you buy ads? And she went, it's what we do.
Yeah.
I said, but you've just said all of you, and they're all around that age of 20s and 30s. So it's not just old people like me that don't look at ads. It's like, yeah, we don't look at, no, we don't look at, you use ad blockers. Yeah, well, I can't think about what else you could use. I said, you're talking to me. You just bought me a coffee. I said, what about social? She said, I can't measure it. I said, well, I can.
Yeah.
I said,
so I think that story sums up the sort of the confusion and the reticence, the sort of, I want to tip my toe in the water. I think I've got a handle on this. A lot of people don't. I haven't in the past. A couple of years ago, I started taking notice, and I've been guilty of the, as you call it, the random acts of social, which I love. I love that phrase. But over the last few years, I've begun to see the power of it, and I've been doing my own thing. More and more, I start to piece this together. But I think what's been missing for me is a manual. So
yes.
This is a nice segue into my late night reading last night. So your book, Social Selling, Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
I always have one. It's amazing it pops up, isn't it?
It's amazing how it just pops up like that. So this is the step-by-step manual for those that are early in their adoption of this, early in their maturity, or even developed in their maturity to have a refresh and a repointer. This is what you need to do. This is, you're an expert.
So I've read all the social selling books, and most of them are shared. And the reason for that, it's about someone's journey, which I'm not interested in, or it's about product, like it's about LinkedIn, which isn't being good at LinkedIn is interesting, but it's not. You need to understand the mindset of social selling. And when Matt and I basically sat down to write this, we wanted to make it a manual. We wanted it to make it a booklet that salespeople would read and go back to. And I've got people, Jan Bambosa, Joe Saunders, a number of people that have shown me their books, and it's got post-it notes all the way through. Phil Aston is another guy in Cornwall where he's basically highlighted stuff. We Matt and I brainstormed every chapter. We sat down and we got a whiteboard and we said, okay, what does this chapter about? And the first brainstorming session we did, I'd been in a meeting at my previous employer, and this very powerful sales VP had leant across the desk and pointed a finger at me. And I won't say the word beginning with F that he used, but he said, this social selling is all very interesting, but where are the leads?
Yeah.
And I said this to Matt, and what we said is that, right, every time we do a chapter, we are going to basically say that, and we're going to look at it, because if we go too marketing fluffy, that's not what salespeople want. They'll just go fluffy. Yeah. What I want is something that's I can basically go into work tomorrow and implement, that's going to help me make money and help me make leads and meetings. And that's what we hope that we've actually created.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from reading it last night, albeit a fairly quick scan with some deeper dives, it is the manual that I think certainly I've been looking for. And I think it's going to have a particularly big impact.
And I would say, if you don't know, go to Amazon and look at the reviews.
Mm.
Yeah, there are reviews on there that said this book has changed my life.
Yeah.
And I know that makes me sound like I'm boasting. I'm not. I'm trying to be helpful to people. I don't make any money from the book. It's more about, for me, this is about a legacy of helping people transform the way that they work and the way that they sell. And I know there are people out there that have done that. I've named a few, people, and the Amazon and the reviews stand up for themselves.
Yeah, I think when my wife said to me afterwards, "What did you think of it?" Because I sort of locked myself in the study and said, "I just want a couple of hours just to get into this." She said, "What did you think?" And I said, "Well, the response I said was bittersweet. The sweetness was the fact that I now have a manual and I now have a sort of framework that I can build this around. Because I've had all these little light bulbs. It was almost like playing Frogger. I need to do a bit of that. I need to do a bit of that." Now I have more of a clear path and more of an understanding of the science behind it and the maths behind it. But the bitter part was the fact that I feel as if I've missed some significant opportunities in the last 5 to 10 years. I have been
Right.
that manager who has been into the sales team saying, it's 3 months and they're a target company and we're still nowhere near them. Make more calls. Yeah, but I've made 45 calls. Make more. Send more emails. Almost like, the definition of insanity, just keep doing that and eventually it might crack and we might get that meeting. And of course we never got that meeting, or we did get it. And it was a kind of the wrongly pitched, wrong person in the organization, but we felt great because we got that meeting. We got the meeting.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of salespeople at the moment that are kind of in that, we're in a really difficult situation economically. It's pretty horrible. People are dying, and it's really sad. But life goes on, and they're being told they've got to sell. It's a bit like a personal drowning that you can see them like thrashing around.
Yeah.
And they're being told, you need to do a bit of calling, and they're going, well, that doesn't work. And they go, okay, well, you need to send emails. Well, that doesn't work. And they go, well, you need to do social. And no one's actually being told what doing social means.
Correct.
So you get, the number of people that have basically contacted me pitching, like, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Or the people that are just posting, they're finding articles and they're just posting them. I mean, that isn't social selling. That's posting on social. Social selling is a methodology, just as much as there are methodologies, there's lots of sales methodologies, but social selling is a methodology. It's not just what I say, random acts of social. And that's one of the things you get on the maturity, which is, oh, well, I posted something on social and nothing happened.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not surprised.
I'm not surprised.
We had one client that came to us and said, because they were trying to prove to us that social selling didn't work. They said, we sent 250 LinkedIn connection requests to supply chain because they're people they were trying to sell to, and nothing happened. And I said, well, yeah, of course not. And they said, why not? I said, because you look like spammers.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, do you expect someone would you connect with yourself? And they went, well, no. I said, well, why do you think a supply chain director would connect with you? Yeah, I see what you mean.
And that fits in with the people that proudly tell you they've got 15, 20,000 connections. Actually, yeah, that's great. And you've got a reasonable audience there, but actually how crucial, what is the percentage of that audience that's actually, I mean, you've said before, you might only have 400 connections in your LinkedIn, but it might be the right 400 connections.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not about volume.
It's not about volume. So I know someone who's got 30,000 connections, but they haven't got a network. The people actually who they're connected to don't know who that person is. At the time when they told me they had 30,000 connections, they were out of work. Yeah. It was like, well, there's a deep irony, isn't it? So if you're so great, then surely your network's going to give you a job. And that's the difference between, there's lots of people that will go, I'll get you 2,000 connections on LinkedIn. So what?
Yeah, I know. So what?
Yeah, I mean, I've now got 20,000. And I would say that I probably know them. Right. But when we were in Melbourne and someone said to me, and it's probably someone is probably thinking this right now as they're listening to this, they said, there's no way that you could know 20,000 people. And the person that we were with turned around and said, no, there isn't, but they know me. Mm. And that's the important thing about, you don't, the power of networks. I had someone yesterday that reshared one of my blogs. They're from Mexico. They're not in my network. So I went back to them, said, thank you very much for doing that. sent her a connection request and said, love to connect with you. We've been on holiday in Mexico. Wonderful place. Though there was a riot on the day in Mexico City when we arrived, but it all seemed to fizzle out. I'm now into a conversation with her. Yeah. Now, I don't know where that will lead, but the fact of the matter is I've created a conversation, and sales and marketing is about conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just in closing, Tim, if you're sitting there and you're the phone call and email sales professional who's been trying for years, a tried and tested method with a tried and tested network of people, but kind of struggling a little bit now and thinking about, I need to be more social, I need to be on social more and be relevant and present. It's not an exactly easy switch, and there are some hints and tips to it. I think, do you do training for salespeople or things like that?
Yes, so we provide training for salespeople. So we help people transform over to using social. Yeah. That's one of the things that we do. So apart from the book, we started the business to transform sales teams, and now we've done that, with Ring Central, Telstra, people like BMW, organizations which recognize that Workday recently just signed with us. So, tech organizations, anyone where there's a sales team where you're selling, generally B2B, generally you're selling an item which requires someone to go through a thought process.
Yeah, sure.
To buy.
Sure. I said this morning that reading the book was a bit like, I feel a bit like Neo in the Matrix after taking the red pill. It kind of stopped me in my tracks. I'm going to go back and reread it and push a bit further into this. Tim, just want to show us the book one more time just before we finish.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that our people get hold of it.
So it arrives, and
yeah,
it's on Amazon worldwide. So you can go onto Amazon and if you got any questions, come to me. Also look at the reviews on Amazon. I'm Timothy Hughes, which is Hughes. People often spell Hughes wrong. And I'm Timothy_Hughes on Twitter. Come to me. I'm always on social. So, ask questions.
Very good. You. Yeah, listen, it's been great. And I don't think it's the last time we're going to be talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Eric.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.